when it first started, it was a low-cost budget 24-hour news channel, and then Fox News come after that. And I think there's never been a time in history where so many people are leaving mainstream media in droves. And obviously Trump started that with highlighting fake news back in 2016. And I think with the COVID, people have really, so many more people have woken up and realized that mainstream media, I often say the Chinese citizens are bemused by Americans and Australians, etc., because the Chinese citizens know that their news is propaganda. Yet Americans in the West somehow think our news is actually news, not realize it's also propaganda. So I think it's very exciting that there is a lot of truth seekers out there, and really citizen journalism is really taking over. I think that's the future trend. And so I've had so much support and so many people, want to see a news channel that will speak the truth, where people can just no bullshit through the BS, just say it how it is. I think there's one word, Charlie, that you see a lot of presenters use, and then when some of the things come out that, oh, whoops, we made a mistake, whether it's a CDC or whatever, they're not mistakes. They use the word inadvertent, that these things happen inadvertently. Instead of telling the truth, most things in life don't actually happen inadvertently. They are pre-planned and deliberately happen. So until the masses realize that these are not inadvertent errors, when Neil Ferguson did the original modelling funded by Gates that shut down, that scammed the Western governments into shutting down, millions were going to die in America and 160,000 in Australia by April this year from COVID-19. And then within days, they redacted that. Oh no, inadvertent errors. And once people wake up, they're not inadvertent, but obviously deliberate. And that's what I put up a $1 million challenge recently, going, my challenge is that anyone proved to me this is not a pandemic. In the beginning, you could argue that either way, but now the evidence is overwhelming that there's more evidence that it's a pandemic than it is a pandemic. But of course, no one will take up these bets because they're pretty safe bets.
Yeah, well, I was talking earlier before you came on about the fact that in the United Kingdom they've readjusted the figures. The CDC have readjusted the figures of people who've died from COVID-19, just COVID-19, that's it. And they've readjusted it down to 1,400 people in the United Kingdom in the first 6 months of the year. But then there's a very interesting part of that as well, that the average age of those 1,400 people was 88 years old. And also, for the first time in living history, nobody has died of old age in the UK in the first 6 months of this year. So you can't quite make it up, but it made me laugh an awful lot when that was published. And they did it with a serious face.
And those who are obviously doing their homework realise Italy was the first country that's scared. Most of obviously we knew China was most likely lying, but lying the other way, perhaps not disclosing the full deaths. So that had people, but once Italy hit, all these people were dying. But if people did the research, I think the National Health Institute in Italy come out in very early days, the earliest assessment that only 11% of those that said would die actually died, but then that's been since downgraded to about 1.2% to 4%. And I told people all along, the American figures will come out, I estimate about 25 or 6% of those, the 200,000 people that are saying died, are actual real deaths from COVID, and even that is still open to investigation because they base that on Russia saying that population where they only about 5 to 6% of the death rate in the US. But it's interesting, Charlie, when even some of these figures come out, even on official websites, the mainstream media conveniently keeps ignoring them, of course, and they just keep repeating the lie that over 1 million people died of COVID, and that's obviously part of programming, keep repeating the lie and everyone assumes it to be true. But I think mainstream media, and I was having meetings today, actually, a lot of people, amazing from mainstream media want to come work for what we're doing, because I think there's a lot of good people that realise mainstream media, they got into that to want to make a difference and realise how corrupt it is. And people just want to know the truth, and I think mainstream media is in trouble. I'm going to launch campaigns to target advertisers in mainstream media to say, if you don't pull your advertising and shift it to independent media, then we're going to boycott your products. And these are sort of things that need to start happening to get the shift to a media that represents the people, because mainstream media are traitors to democracy and traitors to Australia, traitors to America, and it's time that they were exposed for what they are.
Well, I think they're being exposed. If I may just jump in there, Charlie. Look, the most powerful broadcaster in the world is the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, the gold standard, the hallmark, and the signature of verity, probity, and integrity in broadcasting. Well, that public broadcaster is on the precipice of catastrophic failure. They're facing defunding right now. They are a hive of pedophilic special interests, and that's been exposed already. I mean, Jimmy Savile is the greatest gift to the alternative media in the history of the world, because it is irrecoverable and irredeemable situation that the BBC were covering up for generations, for decades, all of that ghastly stuff in the basement. So that's the gold standard taken down, and the rest is just dominoes, which ultimately is going to be catching up with itself, like a snake devouring its own tail.
I'm on the clock. What you want? Some wheels?
Somewhat historic maneuver.
I'll get back to work.
In putting Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Google, Gestapo on the back foot, and I think you're going to.
Hello. This is Morse Mutual Insurance.
That term is
I can do that.
You'll put up with the head of the snake altogether in one hit, because those platforms, those agencies that have received licenses, and this is all based on trust.
You threw your garage. You need me to bring you a ride?
Being misled into believing that those platforms.
Okay. I got stuff to do.
Again, that's your equity. That's your trust.
Hey, you new stuff?
They have absolutely violated that code. They're in breach. Again, they're being a breach, because when you factor how many millions of souls have actually died around the world as a direct result of the deception, the obfuscation, the scamming, hoaxing that's gone on through syndicated media.
What you need, boss? Some wheels? I can bring them around.
When that audit is done, it's over. It's absolutely over.
I'll get there as soon as I can.
Jamie, voices like your own and Charlie's and certainly my own team are the voices that will